All right, good morning. My name is Ian Snider, and we are here in Watauga County, North Carolina, in the Bethel community. I'm here with my good friend Stanley Wilson, and we wanted to tell a little bit about the operation that we have going here in this part of the Southern Appalachians, using workhorses and mules to do low-impact forestry and logging, and also farming. So my experience with all this is that I have learned from people like Stanley and from another fellow in particular named Chad Miano, who will also showcase in this video, but mainly just wanted to let these fellows who've been my mentors kind of tell their story. So Stanley, you grew up right here. This is, where are we at right now? We're in a barn that was built by your family. How long ago?
In the 1850s.
All right.
Great grandfather and his brother built it. They went to the gold rush in 1849, and they found some gold, and they came back and bought 1,000 acres right here in this valley. And the original house burned, but this is the original barn they built, 1853 or 4, somewhere in there.
Pretty amazing. Really large barn and beautiful. It's a special barn for sure. But you grew up working horses and mules, didn't you? Family always had them.
Yeah, started out horses. There wasn't very many mules in this country. My grandfather used to have a big pair of mules, but mainly it was horses in this area. But used to help log with horses, get the team logged a lot single. It's a steep around here, these mountains. You'd have to use a single horse to pull down in the valley or off of the ridge, you know.
Right.
Use J-grabs a lot of the time, turn the logs loose and let them go. It's a steep, you know, horse get out of the way, but J-grab them. But it was pretty rare if you used a team. You had some big timber or a pretty level area if you used a team to log around here, but a lot of single horse logging.
Sure. And there was a fellow other than your father and your family that you worked with too, named C.B. Reese, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
He
still
was
with us.
a neighbor. He's 98 years old, but he's who I learned horse logging and stuff from, helping him. And I was a teenager, used to, every chance I got, find him where he's at in the woods.
Yeah.
Of course, the horse was broke. He'd do more than all of us put together. He had a real good bay horse. Old Frank was his name, and he knew how to do it. I mean, you tie the lines up, and he'd take them to the skidway or to the truck, you know.
Yeah.
And all you had to do is go knock the grabs out, hang them on the hames, and put some on the stretcher, and turn him up a haul, and he'd go back. But he was a son of a horse.
And after you did some of that, and you got a little bit older, you got into getting your own horses, and eventually really got into mules, didn't you?
Yeah, I like mules. They're tougher. They're not quite as strong as a horse as far as pulling a dead pull weight. A horse can pull more, but they can't take it like a mule. Mule, if you got a pretty sized mule, you can work them all day. They'll wear you out. You know, and they're as in good a shape at the end of the day as most horses are at lunchtime. You know?
Right on. And anymore, you use them too when you're, like when we work together, or you're logging, you use them to do in places where you can't get your tractor and winch.
Yeah.
And if people are wanting some real particular selective logging done. But you also like to get out and have fun with them too. You go wagon training with them.
Yeah, we're going several wagon trains. Most of them are about 5-day trips. We take everything with us as we go. Feed, hay, all our groceries, and just we make about a 100-mile trip, but one's about 90 miles, and others about 100. And the ones from Trade, Tennessee over here and go to White Top, Virginia, and circle back down through Damascus, Virginia, and come back into Mountain City and back to Trade. We got some real good rides down Pisgah National Forest, the back side of Grandfather Mountain.
Right.
They're about a 5-day ride.
I didn't realize they cover that many miles. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That they cover 3 states like that. That's a unique thing in this part of the world.
But a lot of it's real steep pulls, so but we usually work 3 pretty heavy wagons. So we usually work 3 wide. Everyone does.
3 mules in a team.
Yeah. I like working 3 wide. But most of the time a team will do it.
Right.
But it's just easier on if you got the third mule on all that weight on a steep hill. Don't have to stop as often, just keep it going.
And when you were younger too, I really failed to mention that you, like I said, you also farmed with them. Y'all grew tobacco and, and used horses for that too.
Yeah. Walked many a mile behind a spring-tooth cultivator.
Right.
And they got older and wiser. Got had a team of horses. Had riding cultivators. I like that.
That's about as much things as I've ever heard of anyone doing with horses or mules. You logged with them, farmed, and went out and played a little bit. I mean, that's great. You obviously enjoy them.
See, B and I used to mow all our hay, first and second cutting with two teams. We mowed acres of hay. I mean, we'd mow it and then roll it. Kick it with a tractor, stir it, and rake it, and roll it with a tractor. But we mowed it all with mowers. We had a couple pretty good number 9 mowers with 6-foot cutter bars, and it didn't take all day to mow a big field of hay with 2 teams, you know.
Sure. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your story with us, and I'd love to go on all day. If we probably talk about it all day if we wanted to, but the folks want to see a little bit of the logging too, so we'll shift to that. But thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, for everything you've done with me. Appreciate it. All right. All right, welcome back. My name's Ian Snider again, and this time we're in Scott County, Virginia, and I'm here with Chad Miano, and again wanting to be able to let folks know about some of the mentors that have helped me learn about draft animal powered forestry, and have served as, I consider them kind of flame keepers of this craft here in the Southern Appalachians. So, Chad, appreciate you wanting to, or let me talk to you about this. Tell me about when you first started getting into horses. You were young. Your uncle had horses, or you worked for somebody that you helped them.
It was
mow
a
hay,
summer job.
A summer job. What was the name of that fellow's
Chestnut Ridge Farm in Dungannon, Virginia.
That's where you grew up, in Dungannon, right? And that's is that in Scott or is that in Wise?
It's in
Scott County. And you felt like you had a knack for it, didn't you?
Yeah. The man had an organic farm and he used horsepower, and got to helping the man that was working the horses, and the more I helped, the more I liked doing it. And something come up and the fella quit. We were in the middle of hay season, and so the initial motivation for working the horses was get a little more money on the hour, and but I just took to it. And I really liked it. So.
And they had Suffolk horses, didn't they?
They had a couple of Belgian Suffolk crosses.
Right. And that was kind of what got you interested in Suffolk horses a little bit. You're a pretty big breeder of Suffolk horses, aren't you?
That was it was a couple years down the road that before I was really exposed to Suffolk horses.
Right. That's when you really started logging. You saw that. Decided you wanted to.
I started, and I had a couple of part-bred Suffolks, and they were,
you like those?
They were good, but and then I had some Belgians and I had some Percherons, and once I was at logged for 2-3 years, and before I'd gotten myself a true blue Suffolk gelding.
What was his name?
His name was Jim.
That's right. Yeah. And you had family that you grew up in the area, like you said, and you had family that worked in coal mines and did other stuff than in farming too, right? Your father was a coal miner.
Yeah. And he worked 45 years in the mines.
Right. And you said that you were interested to do this kind of work because, that was maybe one of the other options for you, right? Is that maybe you could get into coal mining. You could have if you wanted to, because your dad worked in the mine. You decided you'd like to do more of this type of work and do that, right?
Yeah, the coal mining wasn't for me.
Right. And you, once you got that Suffolk gelding Jim and you kind of went full time into logging, you worked with your brothers, didn't you? Y'all had kind of for the longest time.
Yeah, while I'm 8 years older than the next brother.
You got 2 brothers.
And then, and my the youngest brother's also the youngest in the family. And, my brother Todd, he's the second oldest, cut timber.
Right.
And then the youngest one, he was so hard-headed that we put him to working a hard-headed pair of horses.
Right. And it's still a family business. Your son here, who's actually running the camera right now, Frank, he works with you. Your kids too.
Yeah, I've had lots of people that that's come and gone, that's worked, but anymore it's a family business.
And you got a sawmill too. You do some sawing sometimes for folks as well as logging, and you've like I said, also breed stuff of courses and kind of got a nice farm here. You've been able to really make a full-time living with horsepower.
Yeah, I started in 1995, and probably
Almost 30 years.
Well over 90% of my income is straight up production logging.
With you have some support equipment too, right? You have a skid steer and a knuckle boom loader and truck and stuff. But I mean, from stump to the landing, it's all horsepower.
Yeah.
You have pretty big timber over here in Southwest Virginia, don't you? Pretty big hardwood.
Yeah.
Sizable.
Yeah. Fortunate.
Right.
Fortunate to get the opportunity to work in nice stamp timbers.
Some of the best forests in the world, really, certainly in North America. You've got some landowners too. You've been doing it, like you say, almost 30 years, getting close. You've been able to now doing it this long. You've actually gone back, haven't you? Places you harvested when you first started it. Been able to work in the same forest again, in the same group.
A couple years ago we finally went back, got the opportunity to go back to a job we did in 1999.
Right.
And it was special for me to see the results of the hard work and the care that we took the first go around. And in '99, I had no children.
Right.
And then we did that job. We went. It was the summer of 2018.
Right.
And my son helped me do that job.
Right.
So that was pretty special.
Yeah.
So, and I always say that the catchphrase with all of this is they talk about sustainability.
Right.
And I always thought that's not sustainable, nothing is.
Right. And that's definitely a special thing to be able to see the full cycle like that within your lifetime. Most people can't say that. So that's definitely a story I thought was worth telling, and appreciate you sharing it. Thank you for all the mentorship you provided me over the years and support. I wouldn't be where I am without you. So thanks again for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right.